Ixalan is fascinating, not only for its Mesoamerican roots merged with Journey to the Center of the Earth thematic. This plane has actual layers to it. Ixalan is so much more than Magic's Jurassic Park. See, Ixalan's known history begins with the ending of the Fourth Age. What we know is limited and contextual, but what we do know is there was a survivor of this lost history, a man who murdered his kin out of fear of dying himself and feasted on the blood of his own people, and by surviving the end of this age, he ascended to godhood. This man would take the name Aklazots, the Great Betrayer. Following this would begin the Fifth Age as the Inner Sun Chimil bore new gods of the deep, Ashonil, Pakpatik, Tak, Koslim, and a fifth who was eaten by Aklazots and took his place. Shortly after this, the first group of humans came to be known as the Fifth People, or the Comonwinak, who lived off the land and thrived. Civilization grew and knowledge was not only sought, but valued. Maps made, language developed, a paradise formed, with the first great emperor Tanyalom being the first to circumnavigate the core and confirm it was indeed a star. No one in this time period feared death. It was a choice. When Comonwinak passed, they became an echo, spirits who were free to explore the afterlife, and when Tanyalom became an echo, he sought to find the deep gods and tell them of the Comonwinak's exploits. Unfortunately, when he did this, Aklazots found the core and brought death to the Comonwinak, and from this tragedy, Aklazots fed on their fear. And he even found a foothold as cults devoted to Aklazots grew in number, violence surged, and the Whispering War began. The first two of the gods to return, the core, Ashonil and Tak, managed to fend off Aklazots and imprison him. With this, things returned to normal and the echoes returned. The Comonwinak created a vast empire that lasted 1,000 years until the Fomori invaded and took over Chimil, creating a shell around it, sealing away the sun, cutting off the Comonwinak from their gods. For 320 years, the Fomori controlled the core, and resistance among the echoes and living swelled until eventually they were able to retake the sun. Shortly thereafter, the Comonwinak learned of the world below them, a bit of up is down going on here. They grew curious and opted to explore and migrate to the surface, founding the Sun Empire, which immediately set about conquering local merfolk empires. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Oltec scientists discovered a new fungal disease, possibly left by the Fomori, that came to be the species of mycoids. There was no treatment or cure, so it was kinda left to spread through the caverns, which neither the Oltec or Comon could do anything to stop, so they fled above ground to the continent of Ixalan and sealed the caverns off from the core to stop the spread. Then Azor came along and created the immortal sun, which kind of stopped any and all travel out for the better part of 1,300 years, and sure enough, it became something of a status symbol. It divided the nation of Torazan, caused a religious war that ended 3 centuries later with Alenda of Gerano, who took a sizable amount of territory. Those that didn't side with the first vampire and her Legion of Dusk would join up and create the Brazen Coalition, pirates. Meanwhile, back on the continent of Ixalan, the Sun Empire was still fighting what remained of the merfolk, the River Heralds. The Heralds had the upper hand until Apatzik Intil I took possession of the immortal sun and used it with such disregard that it sundered the entire empire, and the immortal sun faded into history, with several factions searching for the lost city of Arazka, which was eventually found by Tezzeret, taken to Bolus, and the Sun Empire retook the city just in time for the Phyrexian invasion to completely bork the surface. Ixalan, the continent, took a beating. The sun was blotted out, hurricanes, the wind carried razors as though it had teeth, nothing could fly, tens of thousands of dinosaurs and humans completed. Those on the surface were only able to survive by banding together, but in the time after the invasion, those long ago sealed tunnels were rediscovered. The Legion of Dusk freed Aklazots, while the mycoids found their way out of the caverns, and both escaped to the surface. Now, Ixalan finds itself on the brink of war yet again, not only externally, but internally. Both key factions lay divided on how best to proceed, but with the Brazen Coalition bankrolling both sides, who's to say what's gonna happen next?